why you were working with Representative Javier Martinez on automatic voter registration for 18-year-olds. This was a key legislative initiative that the Young Democrats really pushed on, and we even gave Representative Martinez bill of the session right next to early childhood education.
Great.
For actually saying, hey, you can actually register to vote when you walk into the DMV and you're 18 years old for that driver's license. So.
Yeah, I agree. I think that would be a tremendous initiative for our state. Last year during the legislative session when the state of Oregon passed automatic universal voter registration, I remember to Representative Martinez's tremendous credit, he texted me, the very next day and said, how can we get this here in New Mexico?
Yeah.
And I said, let's work together on this. And he spent the last year, he and I sort of thinking about how we could possibly do that here in New Mexico. And in this legislative session, we opted to do this as a constitutional amendment. And the reason for that is that not only what a great message to send to the voters of the state that in our Constitution, we believe that all voters in the state should be automatically registered to vote and that the state should be responsible for that. But that also, that it gave us an opportunity to actually get the bill heard this session because as you know, the legislative rules require things to be germane. It has to have a certain relevancy to the topic at hand, and constitutional amendments are always relevant.
Mm-hmm.
So we did push the bill. We faced some party line opposition, unfortunately, in the first hearing, and we did actually learn some things about the way we drafted the bill that we need to address in future legislative sessions. So I'm really excited to work with him again moving forward in the future on doing an even better version of it in the 2017 legislative session.
That answered another question I had was, will we see this in future sessions?
Yes.
Absolutely. This concept, it first passed in Oregon, then California quickly followed suit. There are a number of other states that are looking at automatic universal registration versions of it. Some states are looking at it legislatively. Some states are looking at putting it on the ballot this year, which is what would have happened if the constitutional amendment had passed. So yes, absolutely. I'm going to continue pushing this policy. I think it's what we need here in New Mexico.
Fantastic. Thank you for fighting for us. And it was a party line vote that held that up of all things. I mean, it shows the priorities between Democrats and then Republicans when it comes to expanding the most fundamental right we have as Americans.
Unfortunately, that was the case. And hopefully, with some diligent work with members across the aisle, we can do some education with those legislators and bring them over to helping us make sure that everybody's registered to vote moving forward.
All right, so we have a little fun part now. It's our Caliente round. So I have a few questions for you. Going to go a little quickly. So as a New Mexican, red or green?
Red.
Okay.
Boom, done. Right there.
Have you ever been to Lovington or Pie Town, New Mexico?
I have been to Lovington. I still have not been to Pie Town, so hopefully we can correct that this campaign.
Have you ever used a yucca as a walking stick?
I haven't. Is that a thing?
It's a thing for some parts of the state. Depends where you go. It's a big thing down south.
Did you just cut it down while you're going hiking?
No, here's the thing. It's like a sacred ritual. You have to find like a yucca that's fallen off of its actual stem, right?
Wow.
And then you're like, okay, well, I can use this as a walking stick. And they're just lying out there in the desert in Doña Ana. So
seems like that's another thing I will have to do.
Please do,
this
yes.
campaign.
maybe on like a weekend when you need a little time away from the campaign trail, go hike a different trail.
And then you can walk with the yucca stick. You'll feel like the full embodiment of New Mexico.
All right, all right.
And this question means a lot to me. What advice would you give your college self and more broadly college students in New Mexico?
Oh my gosh. Well, I think the thing of it is that, even though, I'm 40, I wasn't in college all that long ago, but I still think that the reality for college students here in New Mexico is a lot different than it was when I was in college. And I think that, the advice that I would give to myself is that in terms of the work that I was doing, in terms of, I was working on campaigns and I was going to school and I was doing all of these different things, I often think about that and whether I should have done things differently. I'm really glad that I actually took all the opportunities that I took. I'm really glad that I got all the experiences that I got during that time. So I'd actually probably tell myself, you're actually doing the right thing. It's actually going to work out for you in the long run. All of this stuff you're doing, sometimes you feel like you're crazy and you're doing too much, but it'll all work out for the best. And I think I would give that advice to college students today too. I think unfortunately we live in a reality today where just getting your college degree is not enough. right? It's when you get out of college, you're not going to have a job waiting for you necessarily. Folks, especially in New Mexico, coming out of college, have a different economic reality that they're facing, and there are fewer jobs for qualified individuals. So I would recommend to folks, focus on your studies, do well in school. That's one of the most important things you can do, but also take those opportunities, get those internships, do those volunteer opportunities. I know sometimes as young people, I know that I felt when I was young that, I was asked to do a lot of, maybe the dirty work,
Sure.
A lot of the grunt work, right, of campaigns or working in offices. But I learned a ton. You can learn a ton just by being in the presence of people. You can learn a ton just by doing filing, right? Just by doing something as mundane and rote as filing, and working your way up through an organization, or working your way up through those experiences, so that when you do come out of college, not only do you have a great degree in hand, but you also have that life experience and that work experience. It might even take you a little bit longer to graduate, but I think it's so worthwhile when you come out to have both of those things under your belt.
So our last question, why should New Mexicans vote for you in November?
And an excellent question. Look, at the end of the day, I've been the Bernalillo County Clerk for 9 years now, and I have demonstrated over that 9 years my commitment to improving the election process, to making voting and elections accessible to everybody in my community. I want to take that experience, that knowledge, and that competence to Santa Fe to make sure that not only the voters in my community are having the best voting experience possible, but the voters all over the state are having that experience. And as we discussed, we have a real problem in Santa Fe, and that problem is that voters perceive the system as broken. I think we are used to hearing a lot of promises from people who run for election that they're going to do this and reform that. And the truth of the matter is that I have the experience, the knowledge, and the ability, and more importantly, the willingness to actually do that. I think we are past time in New Mexico where politicians need to go from talking the talk to walking the walk. That's what I'm actually going to do. And the truth of the matter is, sometimes you don't make a lot of friends when you do that, but it's the right thing to do. And it's what the voters and the citizens of our state need and deserve, and I'm willing to do that. So for that, I would ask folks for their vote and support.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel
think
like
she
we
has
need a
ours.
crowd. Yes, you got ours. We're sold. We're sold. Maggie Toulouse Oliver, thank you so much for being on the show with
Thanks,
us for the
Zach.
Young Democrats
Thanks,
of New
Gabby.
Mexico. Folks, we'll see you next time on the Young Democrats of New Mexico Between Two Chiles. Take care.